Well, hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Good morning, good evening, depending on where you are. We are at Backstage, and we have a full day of really great events. If you are interested in an online MBA experience, you are in the right place. We're going to talk to a lot of different schools that have some of the best programs in the world. We're going to get you the nitty gritty on each of those programs and get you up to date. And also talk about the advantages of doing an MBA online, the flexibility it affords, the ability for you to continue your job and your income, which is an important piece of the puzzle, and also to apply what you learn as soon as you learn it at work. Uh, Throughout the day, after my sessions, and I have 3 sessions, we're going to meet with students and alumni of the program to get more of a, in the trenches view. Right now, we're going to take the higher view, if we may. And we have to start off our day 4 terrific schools and 4 great programs. We have Indiana Kelley, and representing Indiana Kelley today, the Kelley Direct Program is Sarah Wanger. She's Director of Admissions and Enrollment Management. We have Michigan Ross in the house, Ann Schoen, who's Associate Director of Admissions. And the Ross program, incidentally, just actually graduated the first person. Rice Business is in the house, Janice Kennedy, who's Executive Director of Recruiting and Admissions. And then from Spain, Madrid, in fact, although our guest here is actually in India right now, IE Business School, the famous Spanish business school, Namita Tira, who is Associate Director of IE India and South Asia. Welcome all. How are all of you doing?
Good.
Great.
Very well. Thank you, John.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see all of you. So let's start with the basics. Maybe each of you can tell us a little bit about your program, how long it's been around, and how it's evolved. Namita, why don't we start with you? Because I know that IE had the very first European online MBA in the market way long ago.
That's correct, John. I think IE's had over 20 years of experience in an online MBA program. That's when we actually started with the course, our very first one. And through these years, we have actually been very innovative and has made a lot of changes in the program to be more adaptable, to be more immersive in the way we teach and the way we include our students' learning experience through the program. Our programs, we have various online courses, but I'll stick to the one where we have an average experience of about 6 years for the candidates here, which the course is highly flexible. It's called the Global Online MBA program, which kind of has a very flexible duration of 17 months to 24 months and 32 months. So that's what the duration of the program is. So it becomes very accommodating for the students to decide on how heavy they want the program load to be for themselves as they progress through the course. The course also gives you the flexibility of being not just very general, but making it a little bit more specialized for you by choosing to be having more electives. In the program, again, a very diverse pool of candidates with over 50 nationalities. So it's a very, very dynamic mix of people coming in from different streams as well as nationalities. And the core focus of the program just doesn't, it's just not on the fact of you being able to innovate in the corporate environment, but also be more entrepreneurial. So there is an entrepreneurial focus in the program, which a student can choose to do.
And if someone chooses the shortest route to the degree, does that require some prerequisites, or is it mainly taking more of a full load?
It's mainly taking more of a full load. So there's no specific prerequisite. It's deciding on what you want to, choose to do at that semester and divide that semester into 2 parts by reducing your course load across. Yes.
Great. And Michigan Ross would be, I think, the newest program, having just graduated its first MBA online. And tell us about Michigan Ross's program.
Sure, yeah, we're kind of the new kid on the block. So we brought in our first class in fall of 2019, of which we have 2 students slated to graduate this August. So they will be our first grads in the program. They went through at an astronomical pace that we did not think was humanly possible, but they did it by taking a really heavy course load. So, but the bulk of our first class will likely graduate next year. So the students are progressing through at about a 3-year pace. Like IE's program, ours is very flexible. So the students can choose how many classes they want to take each semester and kind of determine their course load based on what they have on their plate for work and life. So of course, all of our students are working professionals. So flexibility is really a key to our program. And we're really excited to be in this space.
Terrific. And then, of course, just as IE was the first school in Europe, Indiana Kelley was one of the first schools in the United States. Sarah, give us a little history about the program and tell us how it's evolved.
Certainly. So our program started in 1999. We were one of the first to market in the US, like you said, and we have evolved since then through a curriculum redesign in 2019. So we had a similar kind of MBA curriculum throughout our first 20 years of our existence, and then a complete revamp in 2019, which we were really excited about. The program is a 54 credit MBA program, and then also has the MS degree options for dual degree. The really cool thing about our new curriculum, though, was being able to specialize within the new 54 credit program. We do have majors now. So you can choose a number of different major options, finance, business analytics, strategy. You have all sorts of different options. I have a little kitten right next to me who's home today. So sorry.
I hear, that's wonderful.
Yeah, she's standing right next to me. Anyhow, so we have specialization options. Another key component to the Kelley Direct program is that we do offer our Kelley on campus experiences, which are residencies on the Bloomington campus or at locations across the globe. So you do one of those residencies right at the beginning of your program, and then a second residency at the end of your core. It's kind of the capstone to your core in the program. So those are 2 really key pieces to our new curriculum.
Great, great. And Janice, tell us about Rice. Rice is relatively new, although you've already graduated a larger class than Michigan's one.
And they were on campus for graduation. So
Woohoo.
So excited because we got to celebrate across the on-campus and online group for graduation in May. So that was a fun reunited event for us. So we have 4 starts a year at Rice Business for our online program. We continue to grow in our women, which we are focused on because we want to have a good mix of that. Our diversity is strong. We have residential, just as Sarah mentioned, and we had a residential recently. So we're on campus, making it happen when we are on campus. And they certainly have access to all those things when they aren't on campus. So a mixture of async and synchronous, again, like everyone has said, incredibly flexible, works so well for people who have to deal with either children at home or work or a big commute, or they're just not in the area and they really wanted to be a part of Rice. So it's working out really well for us.
And Janice, you mentioned you have 4 intakes a year, and I should tell everyone who may not be familiar with the online space that most schools have multiple intakes, which allow you to start your studies pretty much, in any season of the year, let me put it that way, in many cases, unlike traditional MBA programs that are full-time, where basically you pretty much enter one time a year. And so if you're interested in getting an MBA, you have to wait for the entire cycle. That's not true in the online space. Namita, how many intakes does IE have a year?
For our online programs, we've got 2 intakes, the fall and the spring, both of them, the same duration, everything pretty much standard, no difference between the 2 intakes.
Right. And Anne, at Michigan Ross, you have how many intakes now?
We also have 2. We have a fall intake and a winter intake, which starts in January. I know most people call that spring, but let's be clear, in Michigan, it is in January, it's winter. So we have two different start points. And our winter intake last year was our first year of a winter intake. So we were about to start recruiting for our next winter intake here.
And you're going to bring in more people this next intake than you had in the past, right?
That's the plan. Yeah, we want our two intakes to be more evenly distributed because we do also have residential experiences. And so in terms of hosting students on campus all together, that's a little bit of a pain point for us. So we wanted to make sure that we had more even distribution as the students those residencies.
Right. And there you are. Janice, how many intakes does Indiana Kelley have? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm missing Sarah. She disappeared, didn't she?
I think she dropped off, but she's coming back.
There you are, Sarah. Okay, well, welcome back. So looks like you changed something. I don't know what you changed, but Sarah, we were asking how many intakes does Indiana Kelley have per year?
Yes, so my apologies. I needed to set up my 3-year-old with some TV to watch. No problem. Okay, so we have 2 different intakes per year. We do have a fall group as well as a spring group. We're just welcoming our fall group for their first Kelley on campus experience this August. And then we'll have our spring group coming on in here to start in February. So similar to Michigan, it is certainly not necessarily spring per se in February in Indiana. But it's nice enough for us to welcome our first group. And the spring group actually starts their Kelley on campus experience in May, but they start coursework first in February, as opposed to the fall group where you start your Kelley on campus experience first and then you jump into courses.
Right. Janice, what's the current class profile for the program?
So it's interesting. The size of the class seems to be arranged depending on the start, and it might be because of that traditional expectation of starting in the fall. So it varies in that way. But right now we're 34% female, an average of 8.5 years of experience, both inside, outside of Texas. It's a nice range.
Right. And that's another feature of a lot of online MBA programs, because obviously you don't necessarily have to be there all the time, if any time at all, so that these programs do draw a nice mix of people from different industries and different geographies. Namita, I would imagine that your global online MBA is very global. What's the class makeup?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, John, we have a very diverse, so you can say it's about 50 plus nationalities on in the class. So in terms of global aspect, that definitely stands out. And the other aspect is, yes, like in all the business schools now, we have a heavy focus on having more women into the program, and there has been a lot of work promoting leadership aspects in women and giving certain benefits and support in terms of financial aids and scholarships to these women. So currently, I think we are about 35% women in the program versus men, which again, we would definitely want to reach parity, like other programs that we've got. In terms of mix in industry, like I said, that because it's one global program, second, it has the flexibility of choosing specialization along with being general. It doesn't limit the fact of people coming in from different industry backgrounds, whether they are, medical, pharma, healthcare, which generally you don't see much into the program. Even, for example, entrepreneurs or startup. People who are, startups.
And what about work experience? What's the average age?
The average age of the class is 31, and the average experience is about 6.5 years of experience. Yeah, where we're looking at a minimum 3, but yes, the average is higher.
Okay, great. And at Michigan Ross, Ann, what's the class profile like?
Yeah, so our students were seeing average work experience between the 6 to 9 year range. So average age being about 29 to 30. We have a really high percentage of folks who already have master's degrees. So anywhere between 40 and 50% in any given intake. So a lot of folks, with other sort of professional backgrounds, lawyers, doctors, pharmacists, that kind of thing coming into the program. So a really highly educated bunch, real great work experience, and we're really excited to accept international students into the program. So that's been a change for us this past year. So we have about 5 to 10% of our incoming class will be international this year. So that's a change for us.
Right. And what I'm hearing here, this is kind of interesting. Some online MBA programs are almost in composition more like executive MBA programs in terms of the people that they draw on age and work experience and managerial responsibilities. It almost sounds as if in this case, we're seeing a younger group of people come and get an online MBA. And I think this, to me, suggests greater acceptance of the online format and basically a willingness of people to say, hey, I'm in the right place right now at the right time. I like my job. I want the credential. I want what I can learn about all the business basics and begin networking. And I'm not necessarily ready to leave my job and go full time. Sarah, are you finding that at Indiana Kelley in your class profile?
Very much so. We have noticed a shift in applicant profile to our program as trending a little more early career professional. And I think that some of that may be due to curriculum between full-time programs and online programs, executive programs may have in the past been a bit more geared towards executive level experience or early career professional experience. And we're finding that with our demographic shifts within the programs, it's actually simply a modality choice and not necessarily, oh, I may want to go to a full-time program because I'm earlier in my career, or I may want to do an online program because I'm later. It's whichever modality works best for them. So we're also finding that our average age of our students is still around 33. But we have noticed younger applicants. Our years of experience has shifted just slightly. It used to be around 9 years. It's now around 7 years of professional experience. So we certainly have gone down a little bit there. So yes, just like other schools, we're noticing similar trends. Our applicant profile for female applicants has been going up. So we are in the 30s. It's still not where we'd like it to be. But certainly we have noticed more female applicants than we have certainly had in the past.
Great. Let's talk a little bit about what someone can expect if they enter your online MBA program. I'm gonna just draw some general assumptions out there for people, and then all of you can say, yeah, that's how it is at my place, or no, that's not how it is. So I'm going to just tell people in general, the time commitment for an online MBA can be anywhere from 10 to 15 hours a week. Of course, it depends on how many courses you're taking. In some programs, you can load up with more courses, as we've already discussed, and get the degree quicker. In other cases, you can stretch it out. One great feature of an online MBA is the ability to stretch the degree out. So let's say you have a big personal event in your life, the birth of a child, let's say, or perhaps you're going to move or take on a new job, or you have a very important assignment at work. You can ease up on the accelerator in the program generally, take a lighter load, or even take a semester or a term off and then come back from sort of where you left off. That is also a feature of online MBA programs. The other thing is many online MBA programs have weekly internet classes. And in these cases, you are expected to be at the class, although all of them are recorded. So if you weren't able to come, you can watch the video at least and do the assignments. Now, is that the case for all of your programs? I believe it is. Yep. Good. Okay. Now tell me what's different. Now, a number of people mentioned in-residence sessions. There are some schools that have several of those. Some schools only have one. Some schools have none. Some schools make them mandatory, some not. Some have them on campus. Some have them throughout different places. Each of these programs have in-residence sessions. But I wonder then, what would be a key differentiator for your MBA program? Namita, what would you say to that?
Well, I think you have pointed out all the common aspects, which already are, the highlights of the program. But I would actually put across is, I think the key differentiator here for our program would be, of course, you come into an MBA program. One is academic enhancement. You're looking at the other aspect is career enhancement. And that's something that is a very integral part of the student's journey. Everyone has this notion that career advising is only for full-time program and not for the online program. And this is a shift that we want to bring in to notice is, yes, our online program is given, students are given equal, attention from the career side, where there is career training, networking, in coaching, and which is more personalized towards them throughout the program and even after. So there is no differentiating factor where it says that, okay, full-time programs have access to this, online programs don't. I think the career services are aligned very well across all the programs and give the same kind of service across to the students. The other thing I think we have built on is because of this pandemic, the new notion that has come in is hybrid learning. So apart from it being residential or online, now it can be combined as both residential combined with online. So your residential period can be done online, but not missing out the whole interaction that you would like to have in class, which happens physically on campus. Mm-hmm. So one class attended online as well as physically, and that's something that we've been able to integrate through this liquid learning concept that IE has developed in this past year.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think, and I think we're probably going to see more of that in the future, where the boundaries between and among these different MBA programs are going to be, let's say, more smudged. And in some cases, if you gain entry, you could do any one of the programs, whether it's part-time, evening, if you have that, whether it's an executive MBA, whether it's a full-time MBA, or whether it's the online MBA, or a switch in between. In general, that is not the case in most online MBA programs. You know, you mentioned something else that I think is important to know about an online MBA program. The issue that of career development and professional development. I think that this is a generalization I'm going to make, and I think it's true for all of you in particular. People out there are going to find online MBA programs at many different price points, just as they would a full-time program. And when you pay at a higher price point, what you're typically getting is a better educational brand that carries more weight on your CV and resume. And you're going to get probably more likely in-residence sessions. And the faculty are going to be teaching live classes on the internet, because there's some programs, particularly the least expensive ones, where that's not true at all. You're more likely to do a global immersion, incidentally, in a program that's a little bit more expensive. And we'll get to Namita's point, which is the career support. And this is a crucial element of a really high quality online MBA program. People who pay more get more support. They get one-on-one coaching, they get mentoring. Many of them can partake in even the full-time MBA career experiences. And that's a very big differentiator. So, Anne, I'm going to ask you, what would be the key differentiator for the Ross MBA program? I know what your answer is going to be, but I'm going to let you take it.
Sure. So, there's a couple. I would say for sure, full access to career services, but obviously that's not unique to this peer set, but I think it is sort of across the space.
Yes.
But I would say our emphasis on action-based learning is a big differentiator. So our MAP program, so multidisciplinary action project, that is a signature component, whether you're in our on-ground programs or online program, where the students will actually work as a student consulting team for a real organization. So We recruit projects from all different types of organizations, small startups through Fortune 500 companies, and the students have a chance to liaise directly with the company and act as a student consultant team, and they will actually make deliverable recommendations to that organization. So it's something we've been doing here at Ross for 30 years. It's really integral to the experience. It gives the students a chance to look maybe outside of their industry, put a different thinking cap on when it comes to their functional expertise. And again, for those folks who may be looking at a career change, this gives them an opportunity to sort of try something new without leaving their real job or without having to quit to take an intern. So it's a really signature experience, that along with our sort of in-depth residencies, really bringing the students together on campus to integrate with one another, to really build those bonds and network, I think are pretty fantastic. And then lastly, I would say our alumni network is huge. We have 630,000 folks worldwide, alumni clubs pretty much around the world. So in terms of, a really strong alumni network who is willing to open the doors, and, all you have to do is put Go Blue at the bottom of an email and pretty much you're guaranteed a response. So a lot of folks out there willing to help you along the way, wherever you end up in life.
Right. And let me ask this question, because I know one of the unique things about your experiential learning map in the full-time MBA program is that you actually break the academic calendar. All classes stop and everyone just works on their project or assignment with an organization. What is the online version like?
Yeah, so the online is slightly different. It's 14 weeks versus 7, which is what you see in the full-time program. But we do that because we realize that a lot of students are continuing to work and they may be taking additional classes as well. So it's a longer term project, but they have other responsibilities while they're partaking in MAP. So it gives us a chance to give the sponsoring agencies a chance, maybe if they want a little bit more long-term look, then sometimes they'll submit the proposal for the online students or weekend students or executive students who typically are 14-week periods versus our 7-week full-time program where it's very intense for a short period of time, but maybe if they want a longer look, submitting the project for the online or weekend students would be a better fit.
Right, great. And Janice at Rice, what would you say are the differentiating features of the online MBA?
Well, just as Ann said, I'm not sure if it's different than this peer set, but we keep those synchronous classes small. So 20 to 25 people, because when you think about the challenge of online and being discussion based and all those fantastic optimizations, we want to keep that aspect small so that it's really productive. Somewhat like Ann, but we call it our global field experience. It's an action learning project. It's trying on all of that you've learned in that first year. You're a consultant to a real project with a real company. We just go to an emerging market. And we have ongoing partners there that have done everything from, a winery looking for help in marketing to a large oil company saying we're going to a new geography, how should we enter that geography? So just some fabulous partners. And I think the global field experience and our class size would probably be what comes to mind. Again, it may be true for this group, but not for everyone.
That's true. And I should emphasize that because that's an important feature of a quality online MBA experience in many cases, and why you might pay more, because there are strict limits on the size of an online live class. And that can make a difference if you're looking for airtime or looking for, exchanges with your classmates and in particular the faculty. Sarah, what about the differentiating characteristics of the Kelley program? You mentioned the array of electives. More than half the coursework is elective, I know, given the new revamp. But what else would you say about it?
Yeah, that's fantastic. With this peer set, as I'm hearing our peer schools, we have similar services across the board. So we have that Graduate Career Services office, top-ranked grad career services that works with our online students. And actually, we have a section of Graduate Career Services specifically tailored to our online students. So each of our students is paired with an individual career counselor that works with them throughout their 2 years in our program. And works with them either on navigating up through their company's ranks where they're currently at, or with seeking out new opportunities or new industries, new locations. We also, like you said, have that customization with half of the program being based in electives, so you can specialize quite a bit. We have those live weekly class sessions so that you can be networking with your peers, and a huge business school alumni network, one of the largest business school specific alumni networks at 120,000 strong. So really, we have very similar components. The one thing I'll push on, though, is we don't have that break the bank price tag. So you're getting every one of these aspects. You're getting a premium product. You're getting a number of different services for networking and in-person connections, those Kelley on campus residencies for just under 80,000, which is really, when you're looking at kind of our peer set, you're getting the Kelley brand, but for a price tag that's not going to necessarily hang across your shoulders like a weight trying to pay off student debt.
Now, one of my favorite questions, and this is, I think some of the answers here may overlap with what we just discussed. But in a way, what I tried to do here is ask the question from the school's perspective. Now I'm going to ask you from the student's perspective, because one of my favorite things to do is to go to a campus, sit in the bar, and talk to students about their experience. And one of my classic questions is, tell me 3 things about this experience that you're going to take away, that you're going to remember for years on end, and that really made a difference for you. Namita, what would they tell me at IE?
Well, I think 3 things. So to start with, I would say one would be connecting. So it's actually connecting your knowledge and vision, connecting with people. So that's networking on this thing, and plus being able to work in a global with a global team, right? So because we have such high diversity in the program, you're exposed to that kind of network. So this is one thing. And I think the other aspect is that it's the reality today, but unlike a full-time program, online students are already used to being connected online with your peers and continue that network. And even after they go offline, like after the program is done, they're still connected because they're used to being connected online. Unlike a full-time program students who, have to completely transition from being physically meeting to now being online. So I think it's much more easier for them to be able to connect. So I think the whole thing would be connecting becomes much more easier for them. Yeah.
Now, one thing that you use to help better connect faculty and with students is something you call the WOW room. And in the beginning, that was a very unique innovation. I think a lot of schools have this. And can you describe what the WOW room is?
Sure, absolutely. So this was about a couple of years back that we developed this concept. So it's basically a room where you have about 40 windows, so 40 screens, right? And the students connect to the WOW room. So the professor is able to actually see each and every student very clearly. The students are able to actually see each other, and of course the professors very clearly. The professor is able to actually monitor the lecture based on how the students are actually receiving it. So you can do polls. There's a lot of analytics that is being used, AI, robotics. These are the concepts that are actually now being used in several platforms, but it was actually integrated then as well. So a professor can judge the mood of the students and decide on how he or she wants to deliver the lecture, cater to the interest, have polls for them, and so on. So it's a very interactive platform. And the WOW room has been used now very categorically, even for like online graduations, which have been a common notion now across. So we are able to actually create a very good virtual reality for our students to experience, basic experience. That's it.
Great. And what would your students tell me were the hallmarks of the experience?
Yeah, so I think, sorry, for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say similar to Damina, the faculty and the people, so their colleagues, their peers in the program, sort of, the connections that they make, I think are critical. And our faculty are wonderful people. They're really accommodating to working professionals and really excited to work with them because they bring something different to the table. They're not taking a pause, so they can bring their jobs and experiences that they're having in their daily work into the classroom, which makes discussion exciting. Similar to Namita, we don't have a wow room, but we call it our smart stage. So our studio in the building is very similar, where the faculty member teaching can see all the faces of the students in the room. It's sort of set up, it's 3 walls of an LED stage, so it feels like a TNT halftime studio a little bit. So the faculty can walk around, and it puts them at ease because they're used to being the front and center, the lecturer, and so they can walk around the classroom and cold call on folks as well in the program. So it's much more like a traditional class experience. I think the students would tell you math is probably one of their differentiating experiences. That's something that we hear continuously from alumni in all programs. So I would imagine that that's something that comes to mind for them as well. At least I hope so.
Right. I'm sure they would. I know surveys of your full-time MBAs all mention MAP, and many of the people who are admitted to the school say they go to Michigan Ross in part because of that program. Janice, what would you say your students would tell me?
First of all, this may sound interesting, but they would say, I'm a real Rice student. So I'm a Rice MBA, which is a Rice MBA across all the programs. For those who think online is that secondary, or you can kind of hide and get your comma, it's not that way. It's not that way at Rice. So I think that we sometimes say you're all in the front row. There's no back of the class. For many people, that's fantastic. For some, we say, no, really. You need to realize this is going to be the rigor of a Rice MBA. And they're like, oh, okay. So I think the realization of that sometimes happens. The other piece is access, and you've heard it here, certainly access to the Career Center, access to student events and as a group and across programs. So treating them as the same as an on-campus for when they're on residency, in residency, or just gathering them in a remote way, as everyone has said. Same nice friend. Yeah, that's what I'd say, probably.
Okay, I think that's great. Sarah.
Kelley Connect Week. You knew I was going to say that. Across the board, that's the students that we hear from. They absolutely love that experience. They come together in Bloomington, they're with their peers, they're with the faculty that they've been seeing across Zoom, for so long. And just the dynamism that, it's such an amazing environment to bring students together on campus. And then to work with a live client, similar to what my peer schools here are talking about with live clients, there's also just a dynamic there of making sure that you are, what you're learning in your MBA feels really real, and that you can apply it to everyday settings, especially across industries. So we've had a number of different clients over the years for Kelley on Campus experiences. Riley Children's Hospital. We work with some small local agencies. We're working with national corporations. We've kind of changed things up. We want to make sure that our students get all sorts of different experiences when working through those cases. And essentially those are case competitions. So there's a feeling of not only that camaraderie that comes out of a Kelley on Campus experience, but also that sense of, oh, I want to showcase everything I've learned and I want to win, which is really fun to see students. They are just trying as hard as they possibly can to make sure that they can earn that Kelley coin that the winners of our case competitions get. So definitely Kelley on Campus, and also the networking that comes across the program. In addition to Kelley on Campus, we also have a student leadership association that offers opportunities for connection as well, both virtually and in person. And again, anytime you're bringing students together, the energy there is just awesome.
So let me tie a bow around a shared theme here, and it's called connectedness. And why this is fascinating, I think, to a lot of people who are watching this right now is because they often think that if they go into an online program, they have to forego the more enduring friendships or connections that they would more normally make in a full-time MBA program. And actually, that's not true. I mean, we survey thousands of online MBA graduates every year, and I can tell you that one of the biggest surprises for all of them is how bonded, deeply bonded they have become with their classmates. And I wonder if we could peel back and say, okay, what does that really mean? Okay, now someone might be sitting in their workplace saying, you know, of course I can connect with my own people, or I can connect with my own friends. This is why it's different. All of you are in the same boot camp together. You're all going through a very rigorous academic program. And that says something about you and your ambitions and who you want to become. And so that bonds you in and of itself. And then as you go through the experience and you're working together in teams and through challenges, that work really brings you together. Here's the other thing about this connectedness that I want to talk about. And that is this: when you're at work, there is a sense in many cases that, you know, you can't be entirely honest with everybody around you. There are people who get jealous about those who get promotions and those who don't, or those who get the choice assignments and those who don't. So what happens is that conversation with your colleagues at work tends to be a little protected, if not overly protected. In this environment where you're with people from all over the world, all different geographies, all different industries, all different functions, that protectedness fades away because all of you are in this experience together, and there's no one in your workplace with you where, you know, there you can say something and it can jeopardize your career. That's what we're talking about, connectedness, and why it's so important in an online MBA program. And I hope people can get that, because I think it's really important to make that clear. So what are you looking for? What does the ideal candidate bring to the application process that makes you say, wow, I want this person in my class? Janice?
We look for the same student that we look for across all of our programs. We want someone to come in, take their aspirations or goals, and quite frankly, go change the world. You know, even if it's in your company or wherever it is, every person matters in making that difference. So our job is to enable them to go fly, soar, make it happen. So when they're unique and interested and interesting and have great ideas, that's motivating for us to get them all together. They get out of, I love how you said, you know, the industry group think. If all your training is within your company, it's going to be a certain type of training in a certain type of industry. But when you get together with everyone who sees things differently, does things differently, it's incredible. And what's funny is we find people really trying to discern between on-campus part-time or professional, working professionals, or online. So we had to create a find your fit, because we had to dispel some of the notions that you brought up and help them understand, no, what do you need? What is the modality? And then how will it play out for you? So it's the same student, it's just a different mode.
Right, exactly. Namita?
Yeah, I would agree with Janice, actually. I think for us, it doesn't matter what scores you bring in, what your academic GPA was, things. I think for us, what matters is the motivation that you come in with. Why is it that you're looking at doing a program? What is it that you want to achieve? What are your aspirations? How well do you see us being the, you know, supporter of those aspirations? And if you have the clarity in that vision, right, of yours, some people just come with an idea and a notion of, okay, I would just want to do an MBA because everyone else is doing an MBA, or that's just the next step, right? But the fact is that you need to understand what the reality is, how do you connect with it, and whether this is something that is beneficial for both. Whether it's not, I'm not being selfish about the fact, but it has to be beneficial. It's a give and take from both sides. So what is it that you bring and what is it that you expect? I think that match has to be right from our side. Of course, having said that, someone who comes with, again, the motivation to keep learning, because that's, again, a key thing in an applicant. I think these two components are very important for us.
And is it similar, Michigan Ross, in terms of what you're looking for in an ideal candidate?
Yeah, I'm going to sound like a broken record, echoing everything that my colleagues just said. Knowing your why is this important for you? Why is this the right school? What is your fit? We're looking for authenticity. We're looking for folks who are good team players, because of course, everything that we're going to do at Ross is going to be team-based. Folks that have a learning mindset, just as Namita said, nobody knows everything. And so coming in and making sure that you understand your areas of expertise and where you can lend a hand to others, but also that you keep an open mind and are curious about the world, and ready to work hard, because it is a rigorous program. Just like my colleague said, this is not a for the faint of heart just because it's online. So have to be ready.
Exactly. And Sarah, any particular thing you're looking for in a candidate?
Oh, I echo everything that everyone else has said. In addition, though, I would say we're also looking for those who've done their homework. We're going to expect that you've become a student even before you're one of our students. We in our interview in particular, we're asking, what questions do you have for us? And we're listening for the types of questions that are being asked. Has that person kind of defined what their goals are and what they're looking for in a program, but also have they done kind of the research into our program and other programs? Oftentimes we'll end an interview letting folks know, you know what, how about you go out and do a little bit more research, make sure that this is the right path for you. You sound like a good fit for us, but before you finish the application process for IU Kelley, you might want to spend a little time on our website and just make sure that this is the right fit. So we're going to give them an assignment even during the application process and before they're a student in the program. But in the long run, I think that benefits everyone. It's going to make sure that when we are meeting with people, that they are critical thinkers, that they are asking the right questions, that they're asking good questions around our program, around their experience in our program. We want them to challenge us around how we're going to be able to help them. But then we also expect a lot of them once they're in the program, and that they are going to need to, kind of step up and ask good questions while they're in our classes too.
Great. So everybody out there, do your research. The websites of all these schools are very good. You can get a lot of really great information from them. More than that, you can contact each of the schools and ask to speak to a current student, an ambassador who's agreed to speak to potential applicants to get the nitty-gritty about the program, or speak to an alum. Better yet, maybe there's someone in your industry or even in your company who's experienced an online MBA program, and you might get some advice from that person as well. Meantime, I want to thank our panel. I can't believe our time is up. It went by so fast. I'm even a little bit over. So Namita, Sarah, Janice, and Ann, thank you so much for being with us today. And let me remind everyone as well that my colleague Heather Soderquist will be coming up in the next panel with alumni and current students from each of these 4 programs. So you don't want to miss that, because I think really, while it's really important to hear from the schools, it's also important to hear from people who've been through the experience. They can tell you how hard it was. They can tell you what they really loved about it, and what they're going to miss if they've already graduated or are about to. So, hey, thank you very much. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants.